Hello, Hardy. Welcome to the Hardy's Hotline. I am Cammie, the Hooked Hardy.
I'm Sarah, the hawk-eyed Hardy, and we are getting ready to talk about When Calls the Heart, Season 12, Episode 4, Dancing Teens.
Okay, question of the day, Sarah. Did
Right?
you ever dance the Charleston when you were younger? Were you part of a dance group or anything like that?
No, never really did any dancing as a kid. No.
Okay, because I specifically remember watching this and saying, what's so hard about the Charleston?
I'll
I
say that I kept expecting there to be more in the show. Like as May was teaching them, I was like, okay, and then it gets hard. It's like, so forward step, back together, back step, forward together, wave your hands. Okay.
I think the first time I ever danced the Charleston as part of a choreographed dance was when I was 7, 8.
In general, yeah, it seems like a dance that you could follow fairly easily.
I laughed so hard at Elizabeth's reaction. Oh, this when she gets it.
Heard Amanda talking in an interview about how she knew less than a lot of the other cast members, and it was really weird feeling like she was the one teaching the other characters the moves, because she was like, a lot of other people knew the dance before and had to learn it. So it almost was like Elizabeth. Amanda had to learn it to teach the other to be May.
Well, she pulled it off beautifully. The diagrams made it look so much harder than it actually is. I thought, how did people learn how to dance with these diagrams, number one? And number two, why does it look so complicated on the paper?
I would have thought the diagram would have been much simpler given the description of the dance. And I also thought, like, once I saw how simple the dance seemed to be, I was like, why couldn't she learn it from the diagram?
Maybe she placed the feet wrong on the floor.
Well, I loved when Rosemary's like turning it upside down. She's like, uh-huh.
Okay, here's your second question of the day.
Ooh, double
what
whammy.
was Rosemary's sparkle word for this episode? She used a word twice.
She did.
She
no,
used
I know.
It twice in one episode, and she wasn't talking about herself.
And I remember thinking about it, and I didn't write it down, and I've lost it in this moment. So you get to be the all-knowing co-host this time.
Well, I'm going to be super dramatic and tell you, oh my gosh, you can't remember that the word was dramatic? She said to Elizabeth, don't be so dramatic, when Elizabeth is actually acting dramatic. She flops down on the couch. But I have to say, kudos to Rosemary, because she was helping her friend be a good friend to this teenage girl that their relationship has grown into something more, and Elizabeth was trying to impress her. And so she said, then we will make it so. And then when she realizes the timeline, then she says, oh, Elizabeth. I don't think I've ever heard Rosemary say, oh, Elizabeth, in that tone, as in, be more reasonable.
It's always the other way around.
And then she says to Lee after Molly stomps out of the office, she said, well, that was dramatic. That was Rosemary's sparkle word, and she wasn't talking about herself. Shocker.
Well, and I think that's probably why it was so funny for her to say that, is because she is usually the one that is so dramatic.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so let's go off of the sparkle word and let's talk about two guys who usually are not dramatic, but who are being a little dramatic.
A little bit sensitive too.
Yeah, I am, of course, referring to our two L's, Lucas and Lee. Okay, so for being dramatic, this opening scene was brilliant because it just set the tone of lighthearted and fun and quick and witty just right off the bat. It was classic.
The setting of having Bill at his favorite table that he loves at the saloon, and just kind of having it flip back and forth between his conversations with Lee and Lucas. And love how he's like, over half the town has asked me to talk to you about this. Like, we have to get this.
We need to talk.
We have to get this resolved. Over the years, they've done several different scenes where they will flip back and forth between different conversations, and they it always just fits perfectly. Like, they don't overuse that.
Yeah.
But when they use it, it really fits, and it is really fun to really see how the different conversations play off of each other, even when happening at different times. And this was no exception. I really enjoyed that dynamic. Mike, going for wedding, after wedding advice, marriage advice, and May going for marriage advice at the same time, and kind of slicing those together. Having this spliced together where Bill is the recipient of the conversation both times was so fun.
And the really funny thing is, like you said, the first time they did this season at least, was with Mike and May, but it was two different recipients, and they were just asking a lot of the same questions. This time it's Bill saying the same things and getting almost the exact same responses, but it's only him, which makes it even funnier when you see his reactions to the conversation, because, well, is there an echo in here? I've heard this all before.
Yeah. It's becoming clear to Bill as this conversation progresses that this is not going to be an easy fix.
So that's going to be a really long wait. Wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, I think something is going to come to a head, and force them into a conversation. I don't think either one of them is going to just choose to go and apologize to you.
No.
Both of them are capable of apologizing, but that's not going to happen.
No. I do think that something is going to happen to act as the catalyst to make it happen. I have no idea what. I couldn't begin to guess. I did read the description. I never do that, but I did read the description for this coming Sunday's episode, and it does say that they resolve their differences. So we'll see how completely it is resolved and what the catalyst is. Yes. Okay, so I am dying to talk about one half of this pair, but pair him off with someone else for this conversation. I am, of course, talking about the female character whose name starts with an E, only it's not Elizabeth. And now I'm starting to wonder if they did that on purpose. Yeah, do you think they did that on purpose?
I mean, there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. You do kind of run out of initials, but it is possible. What are we thinking about, Edie?
Well, number one, I am going to say right off the bat that you were right. I did not disagree with you. I do want to make that abundantly clear. But you nailed your theory. It was probably one of three theories, but you said it out loud that you think that she has the ring on to keep suitors at bay. You even used the term at bay. So I was very proud of you.
Yes. Woohoo! 1 point for me. I'm not batting 1,000 this year, so I'll take it where I can. That one was a pretty spot on guess, so I'm happy with it.
So what surprised me is that there was a fiance.
True.
I thought that she just wore it to stave people off, like you said. But there was a
It could be,
fiance, but it ended.
Yeah, it ended. We don't know how long ago.
Nope.
First of all, but it does make sense that there would have been some, that could be like the reasoning behind it is that she noticed when she started wearing her engagement ring how all of a sudden it did, she did get taken more seriously, and she did have less people just like trying to make any interaction about pursuing her. And so then when the engagement was called off, like, oh well, I should just keep this on because that was so much easier to get my work done. I'd love to hear a little more of that ex-fiance backstory, which, I mean, it's up in the air whether or not this is truly a romantic interest for Lucas in the future, or if it is just simply, part of the plot to get the park done. It almost comes to mind. I mean, I actually really like her. I would love if this became an ongoing character. However, if nothing else, strikes me almost like this is like a person for him to realize what he wants out of life, help him realize how he can pursue happiness in another way after Elizabeth. Somebody that's just kind of there to
show him that he can open his heart again.
Yes.
It could be either way. I see this potentially being a permanent thing. I really do. This is somebody who already has a bit of a career. She's struggling because she's a woman, but she's got a lot of work experience under her belt, and she's looking to open a local private practice. So that is definitely a possibility for something more permanent. So this is something that I found very, very interesting. I don't know if you caught this and made this connection. Did you notice that Lucas discovered her ring gone when their hands brushed?
I mean, I did. I don't know if I made a connection with that.
Who else did that happen with?
I mean, if you're referring to Elizabeth when her ring was gone.
I am.
I mean, I made the connection that he is very observant about rings.
He is very observant of rings, but what I'm saying, see, when they had their first kiss, Elizabeth and Lucas, her hand was on his shoulder. He put his hand on top of hers, and then he felt that her ring was not there anymore. And he felt it before he looked. And this time, their hands brushed on the rope, which, by the way, kudos to him for roping that calf in one try. Go, Lucas. So their hands brush on the rope before she even noticed it was gone, before she even felt it missing. He noticed it was gone because he had brushed her hand and didn't feel a ring. And then he looked down and double checked. So he is very, very consciously aware of jewelry in women in whom he's interested. So
Yeah. And guys are not going to notice that if they're not interested. No. I almost thought from her reaction, the way she brushed it off so quickly, that maybe she just hadn't worn it that day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, it's fine. It's not really missing.
It's back at the ranch house.
Back at the house. I wasn't trying to impress anybody, so I just forgot to put it on.
Once the ring was gone, and once they cleared up why it didn't matter, he was more invested in finding the ring than she was, which, at least for appearance's sake, should have been the other way around. There's a little smile appearing on that man's face,
Well, and I mean, let's just also say what a great guy Lucas is, that even thinking that she has a fiance and this, she's off limits, he is still not pursuing her, but he is still having a professional relationship. He's still offering to help her go with the, get the calf. He's still out there running around a field to help her. And then he's still concerned enough to try to help her find her engagement ring. Yes. When he thinks that it's a real engagement ring. And maybe it is the real engagement ring. And she's like, I do not care if I lose that, because I hate that guy. Like, bad memories.
He's gone.
In terms of Lucas, if we're talking about who would be a fabulous match for him, somebody who's got a real good career going, who had that career very stable before meeting him, so he doesn't have to feel like, there's any concern with them trying to, ride the coattails of the governor or anything like that. Like, really feeling like she's secure, she's got her own life, she's not dependent on him, but they're both still kind of from the same worlds. There's still just like, they're kind of more on the same playing field. And yet they both, even though they seem to both really enjoy city life, they both really enjoy the country life as well. So it's a really good balance, and it is the type of character that I would like to see him with.
Yeah. I like her. I like her a lot. I know that before Jeanette appeared on the episode and we just saw previews, I know there was a lot of talk about what if this was the girl for Lucas, but the moment she stepped onto the screen, not in a preview, obviously, but the moment that she started talking, I said, ugh, this girl's oily. She's way too smooth. There is something off about this relationship. And so I knew that I didn't like her for Lucas, but Edie, I like her. She's smart. She's quick.
I've said from the beginning, I didn't think Lucas or Nathan were better people. There was a better fit.
There was a better fit. Yes.
And I think that long-term, Elizabeth was not a good fit for Lucas, just as much as Lucas wasn't a good fit for Elizabeth. Long-term.
Yeah. And okay. I'm just going to take this moment, since you brought it up. I said in a voice recording that I was just kind of making notes about what I was watching when I was watching the first time. I said one thing that I love so much about the way the show is being written right now, and the way Kevin and Aaron are acting out these characters. Nathan and Elizabeth have a very mature love and a very mature relationship. We had all of the petty, immature stuff before they were a couple. You know, we've been through all of that. we don't we so but I am loving their relationship because it's so mature, and they're so much more open about their love for each other, and they still don't want to kiss in front of people because of their reaction to Oliver being in the jail when they tried to sneak inside, but they don't hold back their I love yous. They don't hold back their affection for each other. And so I'm not as upset and I'm not shouting at the TV when there's a missed moment because there are so many more of them. So
Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
so, but that is what I'm really, really loving about the way this season is going. And because I remember when Elizabeth broke up with Lucas on that train platform, I was not happy.
Yeah.
And I was Team Nathan. That's awful. But the way that they are going this season, they are being very mature. They're being very loving and lovable. And so between the writing and the two of them, I'm in seventh heaven.
Yeah. It's a good season.
Speaking of said affection, oh, let's talk about my favorite scene in this
I
episode.
wonder what it could possibly be.
Allie's birthday party.
Oh, no.
No.
I know you better than that.
Yes, you do. I have it right here in my notes. What does that say? It says he's cradling her hand. And see, look, I even drew a puddle of me. The only thing that would have made that better was a kiss. That's the only thing, but I was okay without it because they were just so into it, the two of them. It was so sweet. And that dip, whoa, that's a smooth operator right there. He's getting into his undercover position a little early, it looks like.
I think it's really great because I think it's funny that he was kind of not teasing her, but kind of implying that she's such a good dancer. And I'm like, you've got some moves too.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I don't feel like this is just her.
Okay, so Hardee's, here's a question for you. Nathan's first dance.
Oh, here we go.
Was it in a bar, B-A-R, or was it in a barn, B-A-R-N? So
yes,
I heard bar and I listened to it multiple times.
I heard barn.
Sarah heard barn. Now, I am of the opinion that barn with an N makes a whole lot more sense because your first dance ever, you would assume that would be a teenager. That better not have been in a bar.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And her reaction, Elizabeth's reaction doesn't make a lot of sense to think it's hilarious that his first dance was in a bar. I think she would have laughed harder at barn.
Maybe.
So yeah, I'm team barn. And we'll see if anybody has any other opinions. Help us out, Hardee's. Did anybody get captions on this?
I am not team bar, okay? I heard bar.
That is actually the funniest statement for you to have to make. You don't go to bars, so it is kind of funny.
I did not hear bar because I wanted to hear bar.
Well, hopefully we'll get that cleared up. But
But oh,
it
and
was so cute. His reaction to her laughing that hard. That's what I loved was the look on his face. Like, why is this funny to you?
he said, "Do you want to show me some of those new dance moves?" But then started leading her in a regular dance, which I had absolutely no problem with. And I think one of my favorite things, well, now I know my number one favorite thing, but my second favorite thing about this would probably have to be while staring into each other's eyes and being so romantic, but they were still having a normal conversation about how Allie's growing up and how she's moving on with her life and all of that. But my number one favorite phrase, because it's not my number one favorite thing, but my number one favorite phrase in this scene was when Elizabeth said, maybe we should follow her lead. Nathan says, maybe take the lead. And then he dips her, which is, woo! That's where I thought it would have been great for him to either bend down and kiss her or bring her up and kiss her. But like I said, I'm okay with it not happening because it's happening plenty. It's great. But the reason why I love that line so much, and maybe you can back me up here, I took that to mean almost two different things.
Okay.
Obviously, take the lead means dancing in a dance term. He was taking the lead in the dance and he was leading her in the dance after he said, teach me some of the moves, but then he just led her in a simple slow dance. But I also kind of felt an underlying meaning that he's taking the lead in this relationship now because he has the freedom to do so. And
And the confidence. His confidence has just
the
skyrocketed.
confidence and the comfort level, all of that, all of that. The CCF.
Okay.
Hashtag CCF. Confidence,
I don't
comfort
think that one's going to
level,
catch on.
tish tish. Confidence, comfort level, and freedom. There we go.
Okay.
But did you get that feeling?
I did. I did.
Oh, good. And then my favorite thing in this scene, I bet you know what it is, but I'll say it anyway.
Yeah. Very cute.
There is a huge difference between dancing like this and dancing like this. And that's what got me big time last season when she asked him to dance and they went out to the dance floor together. And then he cradled her hand against him. That is such a tiny gesture, and it makes me go every single time it happens. And so this time, it's just slightly more intimate,
Mhm. Yeah.
and so and he did it so naturally. He pulls her up from the dip and then he's cradling her hand, and I just went, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die.
Hence the
Actually,
puddle. Got it.
that is Cammie's favorite scene, and I'm hooked.
Definitely my favorite of the Nathan and Elizabeth scenes. I actually have a really hard time in this episode just saying that's my favorite because obviously romance wise that is.
Yes.
Um, but I am really, really partial to the Elizabeth and Allie scene getting ready. That's probably my favorite scene in the show. I I've told you, like, to me, I don't know why I don't have any stepchildren or step parents. But for some reason, watching those types of scenes on TV and in movies, it gets me every time. That is just
Well,
like a thing that always hits me really hard.
well, and this scene, you felt the switch. You didn't feel the switch with the dancing, even though things are different now and she wanted to impress Allie with the dancing. You felt the switch in this scene. I was waiting for this to happen. I was totally expecting her to finish with her hair and then to have Elizabeth look at her in the mirror, which I love those shots, by the way, because they
Yes,
are just amazing.
it's beautiful.
But I was expecting Elizabeth to look Allie in the mirror and say, you know, when it's just you and me, why don't you call me Elizabeth? I was
Mm,
completely expecting her to say that in this because that's the way this scene felt like it was going.
it it did. I feel like that's just a tough spot for her to feel like. I think she's going to get there in another
Yes.
episode or two, but I think that's just a hard. I think it's one of those things where it's just like if you're the new stepmom, like it's hard enough, and then you add in the teacher part.
Yeah.
It's a really tight thing. It's like, how do you know when the right moment is
Oh,
to?
no, absolutely. I'm not saying it should have happened, but
Yeah,
that's
no, no, no. It
how
felt.
it felt.
I agree.
That's the way it felt it was going. I was, the scene ended and I went, wait, she didn't say it. Huh? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I
but
think it's coming this season for sure.
one thing I will say about this scene, okay, I loved it. Between the two of them, it was perfect. I wanted Nathan to witness it. Because when Elizabeth stood up for Allie in the town meeting
Oh,
and
the look on his face.
oh,
Oh,
his eyes were shining. My girlfriend is sticking up for my daughter. I love her. She is so hot right now. Hashtag Chasely Hot. I will start by saying that I know this was a special moment for the two of them. I know that. And
mhm.
that's why Nathan didn't witness it, but it was so much more beautiful. It was
Yeah. No,
so
it
ah,
reminds me of when Elizabeth watched Lucas reading to Little
to
Jack.
little Jack. Yes.
And
And
yeah, so I would like that similar type of a scene to happen with Nathan watching them together.
Elizabeth has witnessed already before
Yes.
they've been a couple, has witnessed, and since they've been a couple, she has witnessed Nathan with little Jack.
Yeah.
And she has seen a lot of really beautiful moments.
Mhm.
And I just I just wanted a shot of him maybe leaning up against the wall at the top of the stairs. And so he just
Mhm.
overheard it, maybe peeked around the corner, or maybe he saw it through the window and so he didn't come in. I didn't want him to walk in on it. I wanted him to
Yeah.
discreetly
Yeah.
observe it because it was so beautiful and that would have melted him on the spot right then and there.
It was. No, I 100% am with you. And I think hopefully that will happen again. But I'm really glad that at least they did have a very similar moment of him walking into the saloon and hearing. the tail end, because when Elizabeth did that, she did not know that Nathan was there yet.
No.
So it was definitely not performative. And he would know that, like, he would know this is what's happening when she doesn't know I'm here. And she's standing up for her when I'm not here to do it. So
Right.
that was really beautiful. But I also want to point out another thing is earlier when Nathan and Allie were having the conversation about having a dance.
Yes.
And she's like, well, Mrs. Thornton thinks it's a good idea.
Elizabeth.
Right then she walks in, which was fabulous timing. But I love that there was the initial like comment and the look on Elizabeth's face when she's like, oh, I've been caught. I'm in the middle. But it
Can
was
we
still,
compromise?
like you said, that could have completely blown up, and it didn't on anyone's part, not even on Allie's. Yes, she was kind of bringing her in, but she was bringing her in as like proof that it's okay. Like, look, this person who you trust believes it's an okay idea. Like, she wasn't using it to get them upset with each other or to get herself out of trouble even. It was like, no, look, see, I've got support. The person I know that you will understand the most, so I'm going to use it to my advantage. But it wasn't in a mean way. It wasn't in a disrespectful way. And both of the adults saw that and were understanding of it.
He's a little tiny bit. She is still a teenager after all.
She is, but she could have handled that. She had the right, honestly, to handle it a little bit defensively because it's her birthday party. She went, I mean, and she wasn't asking for anything out there or super extreme. So,
which makes it all the more funny that there was a town meeting for a birthday party. Come on, people.
I just find it hilarious that it was like, you, mayor, have to cancel this? It's a private party.
Well, I think they were more saying, like, they got him involved as the mayor to pass a temporary emergency bylaw, but I think they got him involved initially because it's in the saloon and he was letting her use the saloon.
But so, I'm saying, what is the bylaw going to say? Yeah. It's going to say people can't have private parties and do what they want at their own private party.
If they're younger than 21.
But if their guardians are allowing it, I just don't, I mean, it's not like you're letting them drink. I don't know. I'm just trying to understand it. I'm like, what is your law going to say? But I mean, Footloose existed, so there were crazy laws back then.
Well, and it's really interesting that they were getting upset about a party, a birthday party, to be held in broad daylight because it involved a dance that could be done with a partner or singly.
Or by yourself. Where you go, step forward, back. Step forward, back, and the hands. Don't forget the hands.
Don't forget the hands.
That's scandalous.
Yeah, I really think that Molly was acting more out of her
100%.
feelings from her past.
100%, but she got a lot of people on board who did not have that past. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why Ned was so up in arms. I don't know what Ned's problem was.
Well, Ned is, from the past, but so is Florence, and she was a dancer, so that's why she didn't mind. The contrast of Nathan saying that it's not a trust thing, but it kind of was. I did wonder what he meant by what if someone gets hurt? It's a dance. It's not a gymnastics tournament. But he's a dad and he's a Mountie. I know.
I do 100% agree with the chaperone thing. I don't know that they needed that many chaperones.
notice how quickly Jed chimed in and asked Molly on a date without really asking her on a date.
Volunteering her for it. I love that. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, it makes sense. You're going to have this thing with a lot of teenagers. It makes
Yeah.
sense that you would have, I mean, granted, it's in the saloon. There were probably going to be some people working. That's my only point. Is like, I do 100% like, okay, that's a really good call to just have a couple adults there in the background.
Just in case.
Just so that in case anybody gets hurt. Like, I mean, yeah, that's just a fair thing to do.
But the contrast between Nathan saying you're the daughter of a Mountie and you're not ready to be responsible for this many kids, to he walks in to Elizabeth standing up for her, and then he joins in and says, I agree, this is Allie's birthday party and I trust her. That probably meant more to Allie than anything, knowing that she explicitly had her father's trust.
Yes.
But let's go back to that date that was not asked for consent, but still turned out really well.
Okay, so so Molly has some really hurt feelings here. She's
Right.
she's projecting a little bit onto the kids.
A lot onto the kids.
Past trauma, so to speak. Um I mean, I kind of just was waiting for someone, anyone, to just make some sort of a comment about, like, that's how kids learn. They have to go through tough situations. And
Well, Elizabeth kind of did that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I was looking for a little more. I was just like, as a teacher, I'm just like,
Oh yeah.
like, you've got to experience some really tough things. And as a parent, that's the hardest thing to watch
Yeah.
your kids go through. But as long as it's not an extreme situation, you do need to like understand that, yeah, okay. I mean, she wasn't even saying that, someone was going to, completely break their heart. It was like, I was heartbroken because someone that I knew didn't come.
show up.
They didn't come. Like, they didn't do anything mean. They didn't humiliate her. They
Yeah.
didn't, like, it wasn't a date where, I mean, the comment Jed made was the guy who stood you up. He didn't even actually stand her up. It wasn't a date. It sounds like a whole group of people was invited and one of them didn't come. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's a little bit different.
Yeah. What an opportune moment to say some things out loud that apparently Jed has either felt for a while or is just discovering. But I think we can both agree that we're both very happy about the fact that it is Jed Campbell who is being used.
Yes, you and I have talked about this before. I think even in one of the last two podcasts we did, where
He did.
they're really doing a great job of, when they need a character, just bringing somebody who's already existing on the show. Like, they don't have to create a brand new person to move into town and be a suitor for Molly. They can take somebody who, yeah, we've never seen them together before this season. We've never seen
it's not obvious to the world.
Yeah, it's not an obvious connection, but it's also not a bad connection. They are two single adults who are approximately the same age, who live in the same town, and
each with a grown daughter.
They both have a grown daughter. And yeah, like, there's a great opportunity to try that out. Let's have a connection with existing characters, bring somebody up who's been on the show for a long time. He first appeared in season 3, so he's been around a very long time as a smaller background character and kind of recurring parts, and we've gotten to know a lot about him, just little bit by bit, which is really fun.
I was just watching part of season 4 today, and it's when Julie comes and apprentices under Elizabeth. And
Mhm.
so she has to teach Laura the hard lesson of you need to follow the assignment. And so you got a B minus on this art project because you didn't follow directions and draw a person. And so Laura was late to school because she had been up all night working on a picture of her father, on a drawing of him. And he had a newspaper, and I noticed something that I have never noticed before with Jed. And I thought, oh, that is a great moment for the actor. He did fantastically. So he had a newspaper under his arm, and Elizabeth sees Mounties on it. And she says very calmly, could I look at that? And he doesn't think a thing of it. He just says, oh, sure. And he hands it to her. And then he sees the title right as she snatches it from him. And you don't see it very well, but he goes, you're like, oh,
What did I just do?
yeah, I shouldn't have
You know,
given
she
that
would have
to
found
him.
out another way.
Yeah, but I don't think he had seen it yet. I think he just
Yeah.
kind of grabbed a paper. And so he realized what was on the front page when she took it from him. And he had a great reaction that I've never noticed before. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. And he's been on there since New Year's Wish, the very first episode of season 3. And here he is,
That's
still
and
in town.
that's the kind of reaction that we don't necessarily notice with all the background actors. But
Yes.
then when they start building up in character and you get to know them more, even if they aren't building up, if you're seeing them consistently, then you go
Mhm.
back and rewatch and you're like, you recognize them. They're that,
Yes.
you have a character in mind, even if they don't have a name or like backstory, you're like, yeah, I see them all the time. And then you start to pick up on their reactions and all the things that they're doing that elevate this show.
Yeah.
And he's definitely one that, is like, I don't, not up at the level with Hickam right now, but kind of where Hickam was 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a person that we were seeing now and then that would have some funny lines and show up, and then you'd be like, okay. And now he's got a huge role on the show.
Yeah.
And that's just really special. I do want to point out, I know you and I talked about this off camera. I am not having a lot of faith in Jed's hazelnut sales abilities. Because if he's buying them from the mercantile, if he's not using his own hazelnuts, then he cannot get mad at anybody else in this town for not buying his hazelnuts.
No, no, he can't. And I really hope we get a little bit more explanation for that, because that is strange. Maybe he was not using as good of a technique to roast them, and so them roasting smelled a lot better than his did. I don't know. But
I don't know, but like here he's mad that everybody's buying from the kids instead of him, and he's buying them from somebody else. He's got his booth, his fruit nut booth is like literally 12 feet from the mercantile. Like if they
Yep.
smell so good and he's like got a craving, walk over there and get the free ones that you don't need to spend a gold coin, which you
Well,
probably don't have very many of.
well, and how did Jed get that gold coin, I wonder?
Right.
Oh my gosh. But okay, before we go down that rabbit hole, I just want to say really fast, I am so glad that Molly is getting some more screen time and some more face time this season, because she hasn't gotten a whole lot. She's gotten a line or two here and there, especially at the beginning of this season. And we were seeing a lot more Florence than we were Molly. And I thought, oh, that's kind of sad. And so now Molly was highly involved in this episode. So,
I
yeah.
like how they kind of ebb and flow the different supporting characters.
Yes.
So that they all
Very
usually get something throughout the season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, one more thing on the dance before
Oh,
we move elsewhere. So, here's my last official question for you.
all right.
Can Nathan afford that dress?
Well, Allie has had some different like little jobs here and there, and she babysits, so she might have bought it herself. My bigger question really was, given how he's struggling to recognize that his daughter's growing up and all these things, I was surprised he didn't have an issue with that dress, quite honestly, because there was a lot of sheer going on. Like the arms were all sheer and looked almost like spaghetti straps underneath the sheer top piece. And I was like, that honestly seems a bit scandalous given the times.
So, he saw it in the box,
That's true.
and that's when he called it beautiful, when it was folded up and the sheer wasn't as obvious. And
Yeah.
then he put it
Yeah.
on, and too late now.
But even even Florence thought it was very nice. She didn't think it was scandalous. She was like, "Oh, a nice party dress." Like I'm sure she saw it. It's Florence. She looked in the box.
Okay, that's true. Do you think Opal or Emily designed it? Because Allie says, thank you for designing it. Opal is the one that's good at drawing, but Emily was doing the explaining.
Mhm.
So, who do you think designed the dress, Opal or
I kind
Emily?
of think they work to. I kind of think they work together.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, that was my biggest concern. She said, "Do you want to see the dress I picked out?" I said, "Can he afford said dress?" Because it's a fancy party dress.
Yeah.
So I was
I my understanding was that she bought it.
with her money.
Yeah. That was
I
that
hope
was
so.
just the feel I got.
I hope so because you can't have daddy's plastic in in this world right now.
Daddy doesn't have anything to
Daddy
go
has
on the
no
plastic.
plastic.
I think she's got a little bit of money saved up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Okay.
at the dance in that beautiful little dress of hers,
Yes.
she was turning a few heads. Two to be specific.
Okay. Okay. I saw it coming. I saw it coming the moment he took the present out of his pocket. I said, "Oh, he's got a present." No. Season 6 all over again.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but
Oh, you wouldn't, would you?
the stakes are a little bit lower. But
The stakes are lower, but it is the almost exact situation. The Mountie gets stiffed for the flashier guy, and she dances with the flashier guy, and the Mountie walks out. It's almost a mirror.
well, when you put it that way,
You said no triangles.
I have just apparently been following the wrong accounts because that was strictly information I had read. Not a theory. It was not a theory of something I thought was going to happen. I thought I read that they were not going in the direction of a triangle with Allie. So my bad. I need to work on my investigative reporting skills.
Apparently, yeah, take a few hints from Rosemary.
So I loved that Elizabeth was watching and could see
Yes.
it all go down because that's really going to be crucial here in the next episode or two. It's gonna something's gonna happen, and she's gonna have to, have a heart to heart with Allie probably, and can hopefully really be a good support for her in a really awkward way now that you see the parallel. But
Well, and that's the other thing. She has already said, Nathan, I'm so sorry for hurting you. But she sees a tiny little piece of what Nathan went through back then.
Yeah.
But there wasn't the added guilt of feeling responsible for the husband's death and then falling for you.
Yeah.
So there was that added layer on in their circumstance, but she saw something that Nathan went through.
Yeah. Allie seemed, at least in this episode, my impression was that Allie seemed to feel very comfortable with Oliver. That's why she invited him. Like, she's not feeling any feelings for him at this point. She saw him as a friend. That's why she invited him. She clearly had different feelings because she was too nervous and embarrassed to ask Earl herself.
Mm-hmm.
So it was clearly a different situation. But then Oliver took it as her kind of asking him like she might like him.
Did you catch that she asked him to come early and help them decorate?
Uh-huh.
Okay. She was probably being more polite than anything. If she's going to talk to him about the dance, then she has to invite him. And then, well, hey, I can get some extra help while I'm at it. But
Yeah.
the big thing that I am going to forgive her for right now is that she didn't see.
Yeah.
She didn't see Oliver. But technically, she danced with him first.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, number one, he's the cutest. That he totally broke the ice and humiliated himself by going out there all by himself and getting the dancing started when the birthday girl wouldn't even do that.
I
But
know.
there's only one thing I would have preferred. Take her hand and lead her out. Don't go out there by yourself because that looks awkward. But if
it does, but that almost made it better.
I know.
Him.
But she then comes over and joins him. At least turn around and reach for her, because if you ask the birthday girl to dance and you're the first one to do it, that makes you 5 times cooler. So
yes, I really liked that he made a fool of himself for her, though.
Yes, he made a fool of himself out there by doing it alone. But then instead of Allie coming out and joining him, I would have loved for him to stop, go out there, and bring her onto the dance floor.
I don't dislike that, but what I like about what happened is that then it is like her choosing to come dance with him and not him inviting her. So he made a first move of doing something for her, and then she made a first move of joining him, which to me, I liked how that kind of played off of each other. And I think it helped Oliver feel good about himself that she made the choice to do it.
Maybe.
In the moment, I wanted him to just take, when he said there's something I can do about that, I wanted him to just take her hand and lead her out. But once he started doing it, I was like, oh, this is better. It is, in my opinion, better. But
I don't know.
It would have been better if he had gotten to then follow that up with the birthday present.
I want to know what's in that present.
I want to know what's in that present. I want her to find out about it.
Do you think that he'll give it to her?
Maybe, but maybe when he's leaving. We don't know that he stays. He's a cadet. He's not gonna just move there and live there by himself. You're not gonna have 2 Mounties in the town if he graduates.
Nathan can have a deputy. I mean, Hope Valley's growing.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, that was very painful to watch.
I don't think Earl's gonna stick around though.
Oh, you don't?
I don't, I mean, maybe, but just seems like he's classic bad boy material that's just thrown in to ruffle some feathers.
Do you like the nickname Pigtails? Do you like that he's using it for her? Do you like that? Or do you just find it annoying?
I'm finding it annoying, but I feel like it's because I don't like him.
Oh,
Like if it was somebody, like if Oliver chose to do that, I might like it better. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of funny because the first time he called her that because she was wearing pigtails, but then he keeps calling her that when she's not having her hair in pigtails, which it's like you can't really have a nickname based on one time. Like it doesn't make sense.
she wears them enough, though.
But he's only seen her wearing them once.
On screen.
Okay, fine.
Hey, you always point that kind of thing out to me, so.
It's cute in the sense of like if you had this crush on this guy and he gave you a nickname, it wouldn't matter what the nickname was. You'd think that was
No,
pretty awesome that he had a nickname for you.
you can call me whatever you
Right?
want.
Right? So I mean in that sense, and it's not derogatory or rude, it's just to me it kind of implies that he sees her
As a kid.
kid. But then he asked her to dance at her birthday. So that kind of throws that theory away. So I don't know.
No, no, she asked him.
Oh.
She said, "Do you want to dance?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." He did bring her flowers.
I don't know. It's a tough one. We'll have
It
to see
is.
how this young love plays out.
Let's end this episode with a bit of a happier note. Let's talk about a dancing pair that was, oh, it was hitting me in the feels. I'll tell you what. My dad taught me how to dance, and that was my favorite thing to do with him was dance.
Oh,
Uh, but uh, but Joseph and Angela, that was so sweet, and the way that he brushed off her concerns and then came back after Henry reminded him, oddly enough.
that was gorgeous. I am really
Yes.
loving the Henry and Joseph conversations.
I got it right here. I don't mind the silence, but something on your mind? And then when Joseph says, she told me that she feels different, immediately, she is different.
Right.
Joseph is,
Again, not in a like, oh, I get it as a parent, but it's not bad. It's just a fact.
it's a fact. That's the thing. Joseph is trying so hard to make her realize that she's like everybody else, but she's not. She's not like everybody else. She doesn't experience things the same way. And Henry
And
just says it right off the bat.
right. And I think what I would want to impart to a child feeling this way is that you are not different in every way. You are similar in all of these ways. You can find your common ground with all of these people in all of these other ways, and you are just as important as all of these other people in all of these ways. And in these ways, this is what's different, and this is what we can do to address that and to support you in this way. But also that every single person has something
That
that's
makes
different.
them different. Yes.
That is just a big one that you have.
Well, and Henry, good old Henry Wisdom, everybody looks to you to say things. Maybe she's just looking to you to listen. And then Joseph very humbly takes that counsel. He goes, he actually apologizes. He doesn't dance around it because that's not who Joseph is. He says, I want to apologize. And Angela acknowledges, thank you for taking the time. And
I'm back.
that
Yeah.
that is just so beautiful. And even though she wasn't happy when he was teaching her to dance. It's showing that Joseph has so much love for his daughter, and we saw his very good dance moves with his wife. That was just precious beyond all reason. I won't that I wow, yeah. That was just adorable. I love I love married people flirting. I just do. I love married people flirting. So that's why I say this with a grain of salt, but that's why we want Nathan and Elizabeth to hurry up and get married so we can see married people flirting. But I don't want them to hurry up and get married. I do want to see the process, but I'm caught. But moving back.
Anyway, so Angela,
but him teaching her those steps so that she could take one step, if you'll pardon the pun, one step closer to feeling included.
Yeah.
But then he lets her teach him how to Charleston. That was, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to die. And then that ending scene with the four of them standing there in the back. You fathers should be very proud. And then they're growing, but we're the ones learning, which was, of course, profound coming from the preacher's mouth. But when Elizabeth said, I learn something from your girls every day, and then just that adorable look between Nathan and Elizabeth. Did you see it? Yeah. It's one of those, I'm a sucker for nonverbal stuff. Hence the hand holding. But I love that they find those moments to put in the romance where it's not called for in the script. They didn't have to do that cute little look, but it made it all the more palpable. And it made their relationship all the more convincing and real on the screen.
Yeah, it just the realism. Yeah.
But yeah, those father-daughter scenes just struck me straight through the heart.
Well, and when you have a real father-daughter playing them.
Oh my gosh.
Do you ever think that they're like having like a real father-daughter spat and then they have to film a scene like that? And then it's like cut and she's like, I still don't understand why I can't wear a skirt that short. Come on, Dad.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Not going to be dressed like the 1920s in real life. Come on.
Well, and she ain't blind in real life either. So you have her with this sweet smile kind of looking off into space and then cut.
That might be her saving grace, is I don't have to look directly at him during filming. And nothing against them in real life. I'm just thinking, as a parent of a teenager, I'm sure those things happen.
I'm sure they do too. But one more thing about Angela. I really do love that Elizabeth did what she could.
That was beautiful. I love the book.
She didn't horn in on the situation. She didn't try to fix the situation with dad and daughter, but she did what she could to help her feel less isolated because she knew there was nothing else she could do. But that made Angela's words even more profound. Number one, Hope Valley has felt more like home than any other place to me. The proof is in the pudding, because there is Elizabeth doing everything she can to try to make her feel less isolated. And then you've got her friends at school who are doing a beautiful job of keeping her involved. And then Elizabeth is the one who gave her the suggestion to go to the Schwartzman school. And I think now Joseph sees a whole lot more of a reason. She doesn't just want to go away to college and grow up and be away from the family. She wants to be around people who are like her so that she can have that in common. And she doesn't have to try to figure out how to act in front of people that are completely different in that way. She doesn't have to be blind with a bunch of sighted people. She can be blind among other blind people.
And learn from them, learn,
And
just
learn.
share experiences, but also
Mhm.
be in an environment that is built for them.
That too.
So they can feel even more successful. I mean,
Mhm.
I've often just, completely different concept, but just as a preschool teacher, I've thought about like, I have to have that conversation with parents sometimes about why, their child may act differently at school than at home. And it's like, this classroom is built for children of this exact age. Everything is designed and set up for them to function at their level. And so it gives them opportunities. It doesn't mean that they can't have those opportunities elsewhere or that they can't do those things elsewhere, but like it's a bubble that is created for them, and the entire day is about them. It is very different than home when you have people of varying ages of all these different things coming together, all these different activities you have to do for, and parents have to cook dinner and serve it, instead of like, I'm a teacher, I'm there solely to interact with these children. I'm not
True.
trying to balance other duties at the same time. When things are designed for a specific group of people, whatever that may be, it's going to be much more successful in that
Mhm.
time for people,
That's
whatever,
a really,
whether that's an age group or a differing ability or anything.
yeah. No, that's a really good point. I think you've just helped me out with one of my sons.
Well, you're welcome.
So, turn the shingle over, Dr. Nitch. All right, everybody. Well, we hope that you had a lot of fun because we had a lot of fun. It's always great talking to you, babe. Remember, you have a marvelous morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in your day. Bye,
Alrighty.
everybody.